Hi, thanks for joining us today. My name is Joe Aikens here, Director of Building Lifecycle Solutions for IMAGINiT Technologies. I'm here to talk about leveraging data and analytics to drive business decisions. Hopefully, that's kind of obvious based off of the name of the session that you're signing into here. Now, as we're looking at this and thinking about data and analytics and all those things that come forward with that, I want to try and set the stage for not just this particular session, but everything that's going to be happening over the next 2 days. There's a lot of great sessions that'll be, doing things to help out with gaining personal knowledge for personal growth, for things that'll help out with your business, for helping out with business decisions of how do we, manage our software licenses better? How do we make appropriate decisions that affect not just yourself, but everybody inside your company? There's a lot of great information, a lot of great things in here with the intent of working to help you. Because at ImagineIt, our purpose in life, especially for me and my team, and from the consulting, technical service delivery, training, all those things that come around, our purpose as ImagineIt is to help our customers improve their business, to go through personal and professional growth, to achieve your goals and aspirations. If we're not doing that, then let's reset and try to figure out where and how can we be talking and working together to do that, to help you thrive. Now, as we're doing that, the tendency from Imagine It is to focus on knowledge, to focus on aspects of automation. Where can we take care of things so that you can focus your time and energy on those items that are more critical, more important, require that human element to it. We'll focus on, like I said before, personal and professional growth. But the underpinning things to all of that is data. Data drives a lot of what we do from decisions. And really, in the end, data driven decisions aren't anything new. If we go back to the dawn of time, right, you could have the quintessential, caveman sitting around and saying, well, does this wood burn really well, or does that plant burn really well? Which makes a better fire? Which, how do I get the fire to be less smoky so it's, more appealing to everybody inside the tribe? Do I attack that animal and bring back some food for my family, or do I walk away quietly so I can return to my family? There's some of those things that have been going on since forever. If we think about it from we'll say a publicly traded company standpoint, people have been doing analysis of companies to better understand where they are in their marketplace. How well do they stack up against competition? What's their moat? All sorts of things that you can start working through and analyzing. Where things have really changed lately, though, is that we'll say recently, we can define the word recently any number of different ways, but recently there's been a lot more information coming around. We've been moving from this idea of data being mostly an analog thing where we're trying to research back through paper and going to libraries and once upon a time used to know what the Dewey Decimal System really was all about, or wherever we're going through there. But it was a lot more labor to get that material, that data that we needed to make decisions. Now, as we've gone to this, again, recent, you could say 5, 10, 20 years, something along those lines, where we've moved to a spot where there's a lot more digital information available to us that is easier to search, easier to categorize in different ways. But there's also a lot more information out there. The volume of data that exists in the world today is, whether we want to say it's growing exponentially or not, but it's it's massive, and we need to find a way to try and organize and corral that information so that we can make use of it. So it's, again, it's been going around since forever, but the volume of data is greater than it ever has been before and continues to grow. The the tools that we can use to analyze that are different from anything we've had before. And so, how do we take all this and turn it into something that's useful to us as a business? I mean, there's entire degree programs out there in the world today for people in business analytics. It's not just Moneyball with baseball or anything like that anymore. Analytics is a true part of our lives as we're going forward. There's a quote here from Professor Jan Hammond from Harvard Business School. I ran across this a while back, but it's the idea of there's a difference between going into a meeting or making a decision based off of a gut feeling, an opinion on something, versus going into a meeting or making a decision and having data to back that decision up. And this matters no matter who you are inside a company. If you're at the executive level, if you're mid-level management, if you're new to a company, it doesn't really matter. If you've got data to support your arguments, as it says here, and the recommendations that you'll have, you will have more influence in that environment than if you're just coming in with an opinion. Now, that's not to minimize the experience that people bring to the stage. If you've got somebody with decades of business experience in a particular market, and you're comparing that person's opinion versus somebody who's new to the company and has some reams of data to back up their opinion, we might go for that person that's a little bit more experienced. And there's a lot to be said for that, because when we're talking about things and the data that's behind there, we have to remember perhaps the other quote. No matter who you attribute this to, the idea that there's three types of lies, damned lies, and statistics. Most often credited to Mark Twain. If you go and research it, that goes back to any number of different places where we might have seen some of these different quotes referring in different ways to that idea. But the idea behind it being, if you've got statistics, we can cherry pick from statistics to make a case for anything we want to. It really just doesn't matter, no matter what it's going through there. There's people that have done this for, one of the easiest things is like sports. So should we chase after this person to join our team or chase after that person? You cherry pick statistics to get what you want. The same thing applies here. We can have all sorts of data and analyze that data so it becomes actionable information, and cherry pick from all that to get to your own personal desires. While that's okay in some cases for making persuasive arguments and things like that, when we're basing this off of business decisions, and it's not just affecting you but everybody inside the company and the environment that you're working in, we need to make sure that we're taking everything in the proper context and looking at it holistically, not with a predetermined answer in mind, but what is really going to be something that will help our business grow, and be honest with it. Because if you're disingenuous with that, it's not going to end well. It just won't end well at all. So, as I said, though, it's more than just the going with the gut feeling. It's not saying here's all the data. I like that piece. I like this piece, and based off of that, we'll make a decision to go forward with X. We're going to buy this particular piece of equipment because it's going to make our lives all that much better. Really, will it? Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe the answer is no. But let's be thorough in that, because there's a difference between the data that we have there that is maybe unstructured in a number of places and going through it, but the information that makes wise decisions. Do you objectively know that you're going in the right direction? Would anybody be able to look at your arguments, look at the source data for your arguments, and come to the same or a similar conclusion? That's when we start to know that we've got it right. We're not just blindly reaching through the information and the data that we have to roll forward with it. There's something more legitimate. Now, you'll hear me uh, oscillate between saying the word data and saying the word information in a number of different places. And there's a lot that's similar between the two, but the way that's often been described to me and the way I like to look at it is that the data is that unstructured volume of stuff that's out there that we can see and pull from and look at. And data is great, but information is better, because information becomes something that allows us to move forward. It becomes something that is actionable. We've got all sorts of things. We were tracking things on paper before. That's data. We're tracking things and putting it in a spreadsheet. Okay, that's data. It's maybe closer to information, but we need to go that next little bit further. Is it structured data? As we're looking at that spreadsheet of information, is it consistent? Are the columns consistent between spreadsheet one and spreadsheet two? Because if we've got consistent information, especially if it's digital information, then it becomes searchable. We can throw pivot tables at it. We can do all sorts of things to analyze that information in different ways if it's there. Now, the key word that I mentioned through that is the idea of digitization, depends on how you want to call it. But if we're really going to analyze this more easily, it does need to be digital. Otherwise, we're transcribing things on paper, and it's no fun. I've done it, continue to do it sometimes if I have to, but it's not the best way to go. Now, you're probably already most of the way down that path of digitization of your processes. If you're using AutoCAD, if you're using Revit, or any of the different things that are similar to that, and you're here, so yeah, you are. You're on that pathway. Maybe not everything is in that case so far. Not everything is fully digital, but you're moving in that direction. Personally, I just recently made a change to doing all of my note taking digitally. Uh, Prior to that, I had a notepad here, a notepad there. I had one pad of paper at the office, another pad of paper at the home office, something else inside my bag when I was traveling. And it was notes everywhere, and it was inconsistent. If I had to try and find a note for something and start paging through what I had in a notebook and find out, oh crap, it's at that other notebook somewhere else, it wasn't great. So recently started digitally taking all those notes so that they're always with me wherever I go. So that'll be a place where, even though so much of my life is in this digital world, there was that one piece that was still lingering behind. That aspect of things, that digitization of my note taking, is something I have to do to be able to get to the next step of analyzing what's happening better across these myriad of different meetings and things that I've got going on. So that's one way to be able to look at it. And by doing that, if we've got this information, if we've got something that's backing us up as we're moving forward, we've moved past the spot of just that gut instinct or my opinion is XYZ to here's my opinion and here's the data to back that up. If we go to that example of the senior person and the newbie coming into the meeting with, one having just an opinion, the other having an opinion with data. Well, if both have opinion and data, then that makes it, to some extent, we could call it a more even playing field as far as the supporting data and information to their arguments. And we get to we get to make decisions based off the merit of the information and arguments. So, going into a meeting and saying, I believe that the next 6 months in 2021 will be a growth opportunity for our business. That's a great statement. Might have a lot of people believing it. Yeah, and let's go, and we can do this. There might be an emotional piece that comes around and says, yes, we believe that's going to be true based off the environment that you're in. But if there's no data backing that up, why do you believe that? How do you think your way through it all? If instead of just saying, I think we're going to grow in the next 6 months, let's go. If you were to come back and say, hey, I was looking at, researching things, and Dodge reports that there's an expected growth rate of 4% of the industry in 2021, with the bulk of that growth happening in the second half of the year. Well, we're approaching the second half of the year. Here comes that growth coming around. There's some evidence to back up, and there's data and analytics to show where that's coming from. If you dig into those reports a little bit more, you say, well, here's the ENR report of XYZ, and go into specific market segments and look at your market segment to be able to see, we're in part of infrastructure, and we're the United States. There's this great bill that might eventually someday make its way through Congress, and if that happens, there's going to be funding for all sorts of things that we'll want to do. There's that extra little bit of information coming through there. We're in residential market. The lumber prices are having a significant impact on housing starts. We're still going through the design processes, but there's the construction end of it that's getting impacted by material costs. We're looking at the AIA Architectural Buildings Index. There's all sorts of different places where we can look at information and drill it down to your specific environment. We can look at a big picture. We can drag it down to the micro environment that is your world, and use that to help drive those business decisions. And look at that information. I've done that same thing. You've probably done it, or people inside your company have done it. Use that information to drive those decisions, because that carries a lot more weight. And as that earlier quote said, a lot more influence within your company as you're driving decisions in this direction. So that's one example of where we think growth is at, and talking about things hypothetically. But where are people actually using analytics today? There is a survey that was reported on by MicroStrategy. They are an analytics company, So, take that with your grain of salt for interpreting what things are coming back. But in a global survey of companies to say, how are you using analytics today? There's the assumption that yes, we are using analytics for things. 60% of them were saying that we were using data and analytics to boost our processes, to improve how we're doing business and become more cost efficient. Still over 50%, 57% we were at the data and analytics to drive business strategy and change within the business. A little bit more on that in a moment. Again, still over 50%, 52% of companies surveyed were using data and analytics to monitor and improve on the overall financial performance of their company. Now, why that one's only 52% is kind of baffling to me. If any company ever turns around and looks at their balance sheet, to me, that's some level of data and analytics. It may not be predictive analytics. It may not be using machine learning and AI to predict where the company will be 4, 5, 7 years from now, but that's analytics, and there might be some definition differences in there. So that's one of the questions I'll have with looking at some of this data. But suffice it to say, companies globally all the time are using analytics to drive their business decisions. So if that's the case and we're doing that, how do you go about doing it? How do you take the data and analytics that's in there and make something happen? Well, I'll say that there's 5 steps to this of what we need to be able to look at. As we've got 5 steps for this, the first thing we need to know is, why are you analyzing something? What are you looking for? You have to have an idea. There's just too much information out there to be able to go through and say, I'm just going to look at the vast majority of information that's out there and make a business decision on something that I don't know about. No, that's never going to work. So you have to have a reason for going through the analytics to know why you're doing something. Once you have a point in mind, you've got a reason for looking through these analytics, then the second thing you need to do is make sure you've got good data. Now, by good data, let's say if you wanted to say you're a construction firm and you're wondering which of the subcontractors do I work with are the best ones to work with. And you've got information, you've got digital information because you're using this wonderful Autodesk Construction Cloud environment. You've got information to be able to say this company has had X number of issues, as with the work that we've done in quality controls, safety checklists, all sorts of whatever's going on. You've got that information. But if you're looking at this library of information and you've got some of the information, let's say, is part of a company called Acme Associates, and then somewhere else in the system, you've got the name of that company just called Acme, and then another part of the system, you've got it ACMA A for Acme Associates. Another place, they're just AA for Acme Associates. It's something as simple as just the name of the company can start to torpedo what you're looking at. So we've got to have good data, consistent data, standardized data. It might take a little bit of scrubbing to get to that point, but we can get there. For my side, if we're looking at things and it's this cloud environment we're in, did we call it BIM 360? Did we call it 360? Did we call it BIM 360 no space? BIM 360 with a space? Did we call it Autodesk Construction Cloud? Did we call it Autodesk Build, BIM 360? You can see where things can get dispersed a fair amount. But let's turn that around and we can standardize that data. We can turn it into something that is good data. The biggest thing for that, as I've said before and will continue to say, is if it's digital data, we can work with it. If it's analog data, we might have to digitize it to be able to get to something that we can turn around, make good data, and then third step, interpret what we're looking at. When we're interpreting data, we're getting into that analysis side. So it's data and analytics. By interpreting it, hopefully we're turning that unstructured data, maybe even structured data, into actionable information. We're interpreting, we're analyzing it. The actionable data part, actionable information part, becomes the use it section of things. So we know why we're doing something. We've got good data. We're interpreted and analyze the data. Now take action. If you don't take action, what's the purpose in doing everything that you did before? Now, granted, maybe the analysis that you do comes back and says, we're good where we are. Okay, well then continue on your word. That action of continuing as you were can be the use it part of things. But we need to revisit this data set as it continues to grow over time to make sure that we're staying up to date with things, to make sure that it's good information now and next month, 6 months, a year, 5 years from now, we're looking at it again to say, do we need to change again? Do we need to adjust what our expectations are, what our intended outcomes are, based off of a constantly changing environment? So again, know why, have good data, make sure you interpret the data appropriately, use the data, and then revisit, just loop through that process over and over again to be able to get there. So with that in mind, if we've got those types of things going on, what are some examples of processes and things that people are doing today to leverage data and analytics? There's a bunch of different ways. Now, not personally, it's not that IMAGINiT has done this work, but if we think about companies like Amazon, Starbucks, or your favorite coffee company, um, any company that has some sort of a loyalty or a rewards program is a company that's working with data and analytics. Now, it might be not directly associated to your line of business, but it's out there. So what's happening here is people are tracking what's going on. If you're in building design, maybe you're tracking the aspects of design that you've put into various buildings over time. Maybe that's something that you're doing, but you're taking data and you're tracking it. In the case of these types of companies, retail companies, they're tracking customer purchasing habits and trends. And based off of that, they're saying, here's the trend of where things have been purchased, when they've been purchased, how much has been purchased, what has been purchased at various times over the course of a year. And then over that 1 year to go into the next decade. And based off of that, being able to predict where the business is going in the next month, 6 months, year, whatever, and be able to trend that in whatever direction from a personalization and marketing end of things. All those companies that have loyalty programs, yes, you're getting a discount and you're getting something back, but they're getting a bit of information from you as well. They're getting your buying trends so that they can offer up recommended purchases for you that you might be interested based off of your past history. Any of these groups like Amazon has the send to subscribe to a purchase, or I've got dogs. We subscribed to having dog food sent to our house. Just with this whole COVID world, that was just one of the easier ways to go about it. And they now know, based off of what Joe is doing for pet purchases, every X period of time, we'll send a bag of food to his house. And at the same time, we know that we'll be able to count on this amount of revenue coming in a certain spot. So there's data. It's being analyzed so that they can understand where do they need to do for supply chain to make sure that they got the right stuff to be able to send our way, to be able to look from a marketing side to see where can we offer something that I might not have thought of before. When that next bag of food is coming my way, maybe we can offer that he gets a toy for his dog too and get some sort of impulse purchase coming out of me. That's data and analytics being put to work to try and improve a business by getting me to purchase more from them because I like them as a company, whoever it might happen to be. Another one, again, not somebody that we've directly worked with, but Skanska. There's a study that was purchased. There's a link here at the bottom of the slide. You can copy that out if you want to look for it or just do a search for it as well. But there was a study where they were tracking worker movement across, I'm assuming this is going to be larger job sites. And that worker activity data was showing that they had people working as much as like 6 miles a day to get to different places. Well, by analyzing that of why did somebody go from point A to point B and back again and all this type of stuff, they figured out that, well, if we can change where we locate tools and resources on the job site, we can reduce how much people have to walk across that job site back and forth in all these places in any given day. And they were able to do that by reducing the job site motion and activity by 1/3, taking 2 miles out of somebody's walking on a job site. And by doing that, they were able to increase productivity for that particular individual. And they're also able to increase on job site safety because you've got less people wandering throughout the entire job. They get to be able to stay in a more specialized environment for whatever it is they happen to be working on, boosting productivity, staying safer. There's a lot that can happen on with that, and that then allows the jobs to get built better, higher quality. It allows things to get done faster, so it's more economical. That's data and analytics. And again, analyzing where people were walking can make a huge impact on a construction site. Now, if we go to something a little bit more personal through here, imagine it's got a piece of software called Clarity. It analyzes, among other things, it does a lot of stuff, but one of the things it can do is pull out information from Revit files to analyze for quality, for different metrics. We're up to 72 different KPIs that will reach through and be able to allow you to analyze KPIs, key performance indicators. Things like, if you're not a Revit person, apologize for this, but things where we can get into how many in-place families do you have? How many high, medium, or low severity warnings do you have? How many unpid grids do you have? Things that you might tend to care about. And you won't necessarily care about all 72 of these different KPIs that are out there, but it's different pieces of data constantly growing. And with all of that, the intent is to provide an environment for you in which your, in this case, Revit environment works more efficiently, has less of an opportunity for any sort of a data corruption or files crashing, and allows things to, your file open times are faster and better, your sync to central times are faster and better. All these different types of good things can come out of it, of just having a better, more efficient working environment. And what's that matter? Well, it depends on how you want to look at it. Again, this will be a place where I mentioned before of watch out, and when people are giving data, make sure that you can come back and and prove what they're saying independently. So take that and apply to what I'm going to say right now. Call me out on this, or do your own testing to make sure it's right. But if we just do it from a simple math type of standpoint, let's say by having a more efficient Revit environment, you save any particular person in your company 15 minutes over the course of a week. For the sake of easy math, let's say that there's 30 people in your company that this might impact. So 30 people, 15 minutes a week, that's 450 minutes, 7.5 hours a week in time saved. Now it's only little bits here and there, but it adds up. 7.5 hours a week, if we go and multiply it, we'll say 52 weeks a year, it's 390 hours in a year. Now, 390, that might be a little bit overkill in some places. That's assuming everybody's working every week. I said 52 weeks. Maybe it's only 50 weeks. So you drop that number down a little bit. But suddenly it's growing quickly. And that's just by saving 15 minutes a week. Turn around and say your overhead fully burdened HR rate or your billable rate for a project, whatever, let's say $50 an hour, suddenly we're like over $19,000 of labor that's saved over the course of a year by just 15 minutes over the course of a week. So it adds up over time. And it becomes really valuable to you as a company. So that's analytics. It's analyzing your software, your technology environment, so that your staff can be that much more efficient. Now, another place that's coming around, and this is again perhaps me a little bit more personally, about a year ago, we were looking at things for my team, this building lifecycle solutions team. And we've got people throughout US and Canada, and we were organized into regional groups. So we had an East team, a West team, and a Central team. And we had geographies. We figured we put people into places where their manager is in roughly the same time zone as they are, and that works fine. And we've been that way for a long, long time. That's just the way we'd been organized. But started looking at things and saying, is that the best way that we should be organized? So as part of just looking at what are we going and how are we organized and how are we doing business as a company, as a building lifecycle solutions team, I started with that goal in mind, that target of why am I looking at this? Well, I want to see, are we structured the best way that we could be? And it started looking at data, started looking at all the different types of things that we do across this entire team across the United States and Canada, and evaluating, okay, we do this with the architecture group, we do these things with engineering customers, we do these types of things with utilities, and heavier industrial, we do types of things with construction, we do these types of things with owner groups. I started analyzing all the things that we did from as a services organization, and came to the conclusion by looking at the data and analyzing it in different ways that instead of being organized into groups that were geographically focused, it made a little bit better sense for us to be organized into groups that were organized according to the marketplace that they had a focus on. So we changed things. So we've got a group that works with owners and facilities management, and then the rest of it where we changed things is we instead of East, West, and Central, had a group that was built on a extra focus on building design and engineering, a team that had an extra focus on construction, and a team that was more focused on industrial design and engineering. And by doing that, we allow our teams to become that much more specialized and focused on particular areas. We didn't have somebody who was a plant 3D expert also needing to be an expert on rendering options in the cloud with 3D Studio, with Twinmotion, with any of these other things, because that just wasn't as critical of a thing for industrial design and engineering. And vice versa, we didn't have somebody who was really great with multi-team collaboration in a building design environment, having to worry about what's happening with process piping as much. We, instead of being wider generalists, we're able to focus down in that much better. My team managers would then be able to work with their groups on improving the efficiency and knowledge and capabilities of the teams as it related to that particular market segment. So focus better and deliver better outcomes for that as all these changes are going through the world. So that's the action we took into place. Now it's been about a year. It's getting around to the time where pretty soon I'm going to get that revisit part of things to say, okay, we did these changes. Did we get the results we were looking for? If no, why not? If yes, cool, how could they be better? If no, what should we do different to start achieving the goals that we want to have of being, more focused in and producing and all those things related to the division of our organization. So those are some examples of just data and analytics driving overall business decisions. In the end, the idea behind it is to give you the information you need to make those decisions so you can keep learning, keep moving forward. The sessions that we have today, the sessions that we have tomorrow are geared for exactly that as well. Here's some of the different, these aren't the exact titles, but the different types of things that we're going to be covering over the next bit of time. How you can become, what is a CAD manager? You could probably throw BIM manager in there as well. And what's that look like? Going through and having discussions on digital twins, cloud technologies, analyzing skills to improve your overall business, analyzing staff skills to improve your business and your efficiency and capabilities. How can you get your employees better up to speed? Where is the future of technology going? That's actually a specific thing that we've got in our closing session. There's great information here to help you as an individual, knowledge to be gained as an individual, and things that can help with understanding where we're going as a business. There's some quick shot sessions. Some of the on-demand sessions are even like 10 minutes or less. There's other sessions where the depth and volume of material that you've got in there is enough that it's a little bit of a longer session. So on-demand sessions, the live sessions that we've got around, it's just improve yourself, improve your business, and that's where we want to go. And throughout it all, as we're looking at these sessions that we have here, we're looking at the data that you can put to action and analyze for your business, the types of knowledge that you can gain through today and tomorrow, or just wherever. The intent by IMAGINiT, as I said before, is to work to allow or to help you become successful, to reach your personal and business goals and aspirations. So, yeah, as the picture says here, allow IMAGINiT to become that missing piece of the puzzle that's separating you from the level and the type of success you want to get to. Where can you leverage us to improve yourselves? Help me help you type of thing. And that's why we're here. The IMAGINiT purpose, for the reason for having these sessions over the next couple of days, the reasons why I do what I do. I've been doing and enjoy getting up every day to be able to do these things, is to be able to find ways that we can work with our customers to reach those goals and objectives and aspirations. The biggest thing I can add to all this, though, no matter what, when we're talking about something that you learned in one of these sessions today, something that you're thinking about from an analytical standpoint, no matter what it is take action. Give yourself permission to not be perfect the first time out. Take that shot. So start small, just start. Take that first shot. No matter where it goes, you'll be closer to your target than when you began because you did something. You'll be closer. You'll reevaluate where are you at, just like I was mentioning a moment ago. Are you where you wanted to be? No. Why not? Well, because we messed up on our execution, or our target changed, or things moved. Somebody moved my cheese, whatever. Okay, reorient it and shoot again every single time with the idea of getting a little bit better. Um, the quote that's out there, Maya Angelou, of do the best you can or yeah, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. That's the idea of what we want to take through all of this is take that action, learn something, put it into application, reevaluate, try again. Data and analytics driving personal decisions, business decisions, making things better. Again, thank you very much for the time here. Hopefully this leaves you with something to be thinking about, something to be able to take where you're going with your business, personal development, professional development, and take it to that next level. Find some of these sessions in here that you like, that you love, on demand or live sessions, and take it, learn, and then take action. Again, my name is Joe Ikens. Thank you very much, and look forward to interacting with you over the next couple of days. Thank you.